So the event we're talking today about is the FIS Nordic World Ski Championships in Oberstdorf, which is starting on the 23rd of February. So in about 12 days, it's running for 12 days. And we have two venues there. One is the ski jumping at the Schattenberg Hill, and the other one is the cross-country arena Ried. So the distance between those two venues is roughly 3 kilometers, actually. So Infront is the host broadcaster of the event. We are a long-standing partner of the FIS. And in order to not get that wrong on the rights holders, etc., we are talking about 34 rights holders, mainly live TV, some radio broadcasters, as well as some TV stations with news access. Basically, it's with that footprint we have all countries basically included, and it's shown all around the world. And on site, we're talking about roughly 15 broadcasting organizations. It is a winter sport. It's an outdoors winter sport. So there's always difficulties just to location, because of the topography. And then there's one little thing which makes it also more difficult. It's also very pretty. It's called snow. So it's this is the difficulty itself. Nothing which can't be overcome, but definitely adds a level of complication. In this particular case, we have two venues which are 3 kilometers away from each other. So this is a little bit of a challenge. And in terms of brief, let's say the preceding event is always, let's say, the benchmark for the following event. So whatever we do in any of the World Championships is that we try at least to reach that benchmark, if not over deliver what has been done the 2 years before. So this is, let's say, the general brief which we try to adhere to. It's quite unfortunate, obviously, that you can't do any production without asking for COVID. It's just nothing you can forget about. You can leave out of your plans. Especially, I think, as we all agree that the safety of everybody involved, not only athletes but also LOC, FIS, Infront, all our suppliers, is the most important thing. So, in terms of how COVID can be tackled, I think we've seen quite a few approaches over the past 10 months, different bubble approaches. I think you have to approach a one-day event slightly different than maybe a 2 weeks event. But I think there's proven concepts. So for me and for Infront, I think the most difficult question at these times is how can we achieve a production quality and which is needed, which we want to give to our broadcasters, to our rights holders, and how can we manage to basically not have COVID impact the broadcast quality and what we deliver at that point in time. So this is for me the actual challenge. I think all other things in terms of COVID can be overcome, need to be overcome by testing regime, social distancing, etc. But I think the let's say the secret is to not make people see and feel that there is an impact by COVID. So when we started the RFP process, that was roughly 2 years ago, maybe 1.5 years. So at that time, for example, COVID was not existent. So it was not part of the RFP. So we were quite open, let's say, on the technical solutions to be offered. And we mainly got back, I think solely got back, let's say, traditional OB event setups for this event, as well as for the test event in February 2020. So also when we made our decisions, COVID was not part of the picture. And when we had the test event start of last year, we did that as well with a traditional OB setup. But then during the course of 2020, EMG approached us and asked us what we would think about using, instead of a traditional OB van setup, basically the deploy system, which we are using now. So we discussed it together, and when we started this discussion, we knew already that even with the traditional OB van setup, we would have to outsource people from the OB vans into cabins. So that would have been anyway the case. So the cabins were already planned for. And then it was really quite logical to use actually the deploy system because it is made for such deployment. So it's a modular setup with dedicated workstations, which you basically roll into the containers, connect them, and it should all play. I think Bevan can definitely elaborate on that and can explain a lot better than me. But in principle, it was quite logical to use it, and we were quite happy. It was planned to be used on other sports events last year, which then didn't take place, and now we are in the very nice situation that we can use it first time. And when we discussed that, and when we decided then to use it, then we thought and discussed amongst ourselves and said, well, if we already do it with a fully IP-based workflow, with that kind of modular system, then let's make the next logical step, and then let's make the ski jump as well a remote produced event. So basically the production hub, all the main technical equipment is located at the cross country, whereas then the ski jump is produced remotely from the cross country arena, and we take basically full benefit of the entire setup by that. We had to set up basically 2 sets of galleries. So we had to split the cross country and the ski jump entirely. So we have 2 EVS galleries, we have 2 main galleries, we have 2 audio galleries, etc., etc. This is for one reason due to the schedule of the event, where the events are rather close together, and it's quite it would have been quite a limited switch over time from one event to the other. On the other hand, they also, let's say, scale-wise, the 2 productions are quite different. Ski jump has about 34 cameras, I believe, and cross country has even over 70 cameras, which we work with. The benefit and the beauty of it is that it makes the event even more COVID compliant. So every operator is basically working only with their own remote. So we don't have to switch places. We don't have to use a place for 2 operators, and but throughout the entire event, we can make we have the safety that there is a limited amount of possible cross contamination between the 2 production teams. So that's quite handy, I have to say. At the ski jump, we only have 2 double containers apart from a container for equipment, which is once the technical container for the remote production, and we have as well a little production gallery over there, which is mainly used for the setup of the event and setup of our cameras. While during the event, this gallery will not be active. But again, I think Bevan might know more about that and can elaborate here.
I think deploy was suitable for this project in particular for a number of reasons that Pierre mentioned here. Clearly, the ability to have socially distanced occupation of galleries, it was a prime concern. Once we obviously got into the middle of the year last year and we knew that this was going to be continuing, we needed to make sure that we had those socially distanced galleries in place. And I think, again, as Pierre mentioned, looking at the range of across the cross-country event and the ski jumping event, it's a distributed production plan, and the deploy system is perfectly designed for exactly that, whether it's distributed locally across a couple of kilometres or distributed 5,000 kilometres away. The deploy system is designed for both both operations, and as a result is perfectly suited for what we're doing in Oberstdorf. Deploy is it's a large IP distributed production fly pack, for want of a better phrase. It's very modular. Hopefully it means that when we're sending infrastructure around the world to events like this, we only send what's required. So instead of sending a truck that maybe does 30 cameras and you're only using 6, we send the modules that are required to do the event that's before us. So it's very efficient. It's sustainable. There's obviously environmental considerations with that, but the idea, as I said, with the modular nature, is for it to be fast to install, fast to prepare, very flexible in what it can do. So from one event to another, it's easily configured, and the connectivity between all of the modules, obviously being IP, is far simpler than what legacy solutions might be if it was based on SDI. From EMG's perspective, Deploy is our platform, or our the modular system that we'd like to use for almost everything going forward. It's perfectly suited, again, as Pierre mentioned, to the big international sporting events, and we obviously were hoping to use it last year on a number of events, but that didn't happen. So we're lucky enough to be starting it here in Oberstdorf in February. But I think it's perfectly suited to the big events. Right down to the regular, the sort of the bread and butter, the footballs that happen 40 times a year, the events that are highly repetitive in sort of local markets. We think this system gives us the benefit of being able to allow for that high utilization of infrastructure wherever it is, and based on the right kinds of high bandwidth connectivity, we should be able to get the better utilization levels out of infrastructure than we would have had before. And hopefully that flexibility and the modular nature of what we're doing benefits our customers and can allow them to achieve their goals, no matter what they're trying to achieve, whether that's a HD production or a sort of a 4K UHD HDR production. The system's capable of working across all formats that are available today.
Well, I think first of all, success is already achieved by the great cooperation between EMG and Infront, but also with the never-ending support of FIS and the LOC. I think that's really good. The time frame from when EMG started to introduce the idea until February this year was, let's say, was short. So I think it's also a success, which can be seen on EMG side, that they really managed to put all of it together and to plan it so thoroughly with us together, and really have a setup now we are completely convinced in. And of course, and obviously, and I don't think I'm the only one in the industry, it's always nice to have a first. So we love to be able to work with this system first time. To have a fully IP-based workflow, it's great, and as well to have at the same time the opportunity to make a remote production as well, actually with all the benefits, but not really the downsides. Our director can meet beforehand in the hotel, basically with the camera operators, can give them a brief, and although they have a distance then of 3 kilometers, he can meet with them beforehand, which sometimes could be considered in a remote environment as one of the most difficult things. So for me, already the way it was planned and the way it's just at this very moment getting set up, and then I'm very sure how it will also perform is a success, complete success for me.